Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. We'll keep it, though, in North America for this episode. Really excited to bring in a couple of first-time guests with us. Of course, you see a couple of familiar faces. I'm Alex Dono, alongside my co-host, as always, Jerry Mancini. And I know Jerry's having a great day because Lazio got it done against Zenit in Champions League, the 3-1 victory. Your guy, Ciro Immobile, is back to scoring goals for fun. Had a goal from open play early, a penalty kick as well. So, Jerry, how are you?
Don't you wish you had a guy like Immobile that can score goals every game?
But you ever heard of Romelu Lukaku? Are you not familiar?
No. King Cheeto is the real deal, man. Freaking, I don't know, man. I don't understand how this guy gets shit on so much. It doesn't matter what.
Try doing something for the national team, Cheeto. Why do you turn to shit? He put on the national team jersey.
Fuck off, man. It's true that I haven't sworn for a while, but you know what? Fuck off, man. Honestly, scores, Nashville. Sorry, guys. I've been watching the TFC game in the back. I got stunned here. Alex, what did I tell you today on your show? Didn't I say Nashville was going to win?
Yeah.
Lazio was going to bash. I said Lazio was going to bash Zenit, and TFC was going to lose to Nashville. If I was a freaking betting man, I'd be rich today, okay? Because both, I think, were underdogs, or I don't know what the odds were, but back with Lazio, you know what? Immobile is the best thing since freaking since Nutella, probably. Freaking he just keeps on doing everything for Lazio. You see the difference when he's not in the lineup and when he is in the lineup. He's the difference maker. He really opens things up. He gives the defenses more to think about, one more issue. So within 3 minutes, he was clinical, didn't waste any time. Beautiful strike, great patience, good composure. And then in the final, before the half hour, he scores off a penalty. And he earned it by getting tripped in the box. And it was an actual foul, so I was happy that was awarded. But there's not much more you can say about Immobile and what he's done for the team. I know that Italy this, Italy that, but it's not just one player that helps him. It's the surrounding and who's around him. And with Lazio, it's not just him that's doing it. It's all 11 players on the pitch that are contributing. That makes it easier for him and allows him to play his game. So, and I think that's the most important thing when it comes to Italy, that everybody plays their role, which allows him to become more successful in a 4-3-3.
Well, let's bring in our special guest for this episode. We have the red and blue sides of Milano represented. First, I think since one of you gentlemen has a team in first place, let's introduce Miguel AJ first, who comes to us from the city of Chicago. Milan had been absolutely flying to start this season. Zlatan, I know he's going to miss a little time, but he's been a god among men this year. Miguel, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Feeling ecstatic to the Milan 3-1 win against Napoli. Top of the table. It's hard to believe, but we are going to ride the hell out of this train until we get knocked down. Sucks that Zlatan is going to miss a couple of games, but we just got to keep moving, and we got to trust the process.
I mean, I guess I'm glad somebody in here who roots for a team from Milano can be happy. I think Ricky and I are just destined for roller coasters and misery. Let me introduce our man, Ricky Buzz, as well. I really enjoy, and both of you guys, incredible content. And Ricky, you know I'm an Interista, and I watch your post-match videos and all that. So, roller coaster, Ricky, this past Sunday, Inter did get it done against Torino in typical Pazza Inter fashion. I see you're repping the Nerazzurri today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It ain't Inter unless it's Pazza Inter.
and let me start on that note before we dive into Milan's excellence. And like Miguel mentioned, was a pretty incredible performance and a result 3-1 at Napoli. That was impressive. Ricky, why don't we start with the wild roller coaster that was Inter hosting Torino this past Sunday. You had to fall down 2 goals and really play probably the worst half of the Antonio Conte era. That first half was an absolute abomination. And then once Inter went down 2-0 around the hour mark on that penalty kick, that's when the Azzurri really started playing. What were your biggest takeaways after that come from behind 4-2 win at the weekend?
I had said on Twitter, I was like, man, it takes us literally going 2 down for us to kick into gear. And it usually happened. I think it happened against Parma where we went 2 down as well before we started like to kick into gear and start playing. But the first half, my God, is this? They literally were getting at our defense with just simple 1-2 passes. But what do you have? What are your thoughts on it, Alex?
Well, a big thing for me is I really hope that the way that they rallied and came back to win that game, and Romelu Lukaku was fantastic, had 4 goal contributions. He scored twice, including a penalty kick. He had 2 assists as well. It was nice to see Alexis Sanchez score and play well, and Lautaro, who came on, score. Um, for the vast majority of that game, Inter played like hot garbage. I think my hope would be that what we saw was a little bit of a case of, being a little bit flat coming off an international break where a lot of the players were called into international duty. I know sometimes it's normal not to be at your best after an international break when you play a pretty busy 2-week period, 2-3 matches played for some of the guys that were out on international duty. So my hope, Ricky, would be that that what they did from 64 minutes on, that they can show that sort of energy and spirit. And we're recording this on Tuesday evening, so obviously maybe some of you listen to this after Wednesday's Champions League match against Real Madrid. So I can't predict the future. I hope that I'm going to be recapping a pretty good result after that game. Real Madrid is going to be shorthanded. No Sergio Ramos, no Karim Benzema, who did score against Inter. Both of them scored against Inter last time out. So hopefully that's a recipe for success. But, Ricky, just to kind of close my thought on it, there were some good things for about a 20-25 minute period. But if they play as flat against Real Madrid or Sassuolo this coming weekend, like they did for about the first hour of that Torino game, they're going to get smashed. And we've seen Inter play uneven. Like I look at some of the things that that trouble me a little bit. So far, Serie A, they've only kept 1 clean sheet in 8 matchups so far. 3 times out of the 8 games that they played in Serie A, they've conceded the opening goal. So right there, you're in a position where you're having to play from behind. The defense has been pretty leaky. So yeah, I really worry about the temperament and the energy of this team because we've seen it happen. For the better part of the 8 Serie A matches that they played, and a couple of those Champions League matches as well. They played really well overall in the Shakhtar game. They were unlucky not to score in that game, but for the most part, Inter have looked really flat for long stretches of games. Ricky, I'm yet to see them put forth 90 minutes of solid effort. It usually comes in 30, 40-minute chunks.
Yeah, and it was the same thing a bit last year where it was like maybe 60 minutes we give it, and then after 60 minutes we're done and falling flat. But also as well, we're also lucky that Bellotti got injured because if it was him instead of Zaza, it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and of course Zaza did score, and even Giampaolo was not, and this might have been advantage Torino because I don't rate Giampaolo, but he wasn't even able to be on the touchline because he had COVID-19. So it was rough. Meanwhile, Milan got a really incredible 3-1 win on the road at Napoli, and I got to get Miguel's thoughts on that. I mean, Miguel, on the one hand, I think it's easy to kind of for people to make sort of a lazy analysis that Milan has been all Zlatan this year. And I do think Zlatan to this point has been the MVP of Serie A, like not just the MVP of Milan. I think he's been the best player in Serie A, one of the best players in world football so far. But I also really see an entire squad, not just Zlatan, really meshing and impressing me because I thought Milan would be a little bit better this year. I didn't think they would be this much better. So after that win against Napoli, still top of the table, do you start to allow yourself to dream a little bit about being a Scudetto contender?
Yeah. Like you said, Zlatan has definitely been the MVP this season for Serie A and for Milan. He came into the side in January. I believe he scored 12 goals last season or something like that. And I think his current tally right now is 11 goals. He's played 8 games, which is absolutely amazing. I think he's really got this team to believe in themselves, because prior to him being in the team, this team was down in the gutter because Gianpaolo, a lot of the players were doing a bunch of things that were complicated and not usually in their regular position. So he kind of came in along with Pioli, and they worked together, and they managed to get these players to believe in themselves. And we saw after the COVID break how Milan went on an undefeated streak. They beat Juve when they were losing 2-0 and came back to win 4-2. So yeah, you're seeing these players start to believe in themselves. We've seen a tremendous turn in Hakan. He's been able to score goals and also get assists for the team. And then we have a bunch of youngsters: Brahim Diaz, Rafael Leao, Sandro Tonali. We have all these youngsters who are coming into the team. They're gaining this experience from Zlatan, who's a veteran, who's won trophies at various clubs. He hasn't won Champions League, but he's won plenty of other trophies. And they're starting to believe in themselves. They're starting to gel as a team. They're starting to realize, hey, we're not Milan, who won the Champions League back in the day, but we are a good enough side to compete in Serie A. We can't be bossed around by Juve and Inter anymore. We have the potential to kick them off of that high throne. So I think that's really what's happening. And we've seen that, correlate throughout the season.
Jerry, I'd love your take on Milan. You and I, obviously, on this pod with various guests, some Milanisti, some not. We've had conversations over the last few weeks about Milan, and the longer that their form keeps up, and obviously 8 match days in, I don't want to overreact to anything. Like I'm not going to overreact to Inter struggling. I'm on the bad end. I'm not going to necessarily overreact to Milan being in great form. There's still plenty of match days left, but I know that a couple weeks back, you and I thought that Milan would probably come off their high horse maybe 3 match days ago, after that draw with Roma, but their form has only kept up here. So Jerry, do you start to believe that Milan can actually be a contender for one of the top spots in Serie A, perhaps even for a Scudetto?
No, I'm still not a believer. The season's really short. I mean, it's very long. Sorry, there's long days ahead, and I do believe that Milan is a much better team compared to last season, but in my opinion, I still think they're very Zlatan Ibrahimovic driven. I know that they got a third goal not coming from him in the latter parts of the game, but I want to see how this team can do without Zlatan. I think that's the biggest question. And Romagnoli has really looked like he's struggling this season. He doesn't look like the same player. I know that he came back from an injury, and so it's taking him time to find that form. There are certain players who have really stepped up this season. I think Kessie has really done a really good job. I think compared to last year, where he really looked out of form since Pioli has arrived, he's really looked much better in that midfield. Simon Kjær has really been good in the back end. I think that's really one of their best signings. But here's the thing. They don't have a true number 9 that can replace Zlatan. We were talking about this, me and a few buddies in our soccer group, and Zlatan's a true number 9. And I love to hear what Miguel has to say about this, but Leao is not a true 9, I believe. I think he's more of a winger. And who comes into the place now to replace Zlatan and give him that scoring that they're going to be missing, because they need to find someone else who can provide the goals now, because Zlatan's the guy who's been scoring, I would say, 80% of their goals. I would think that maybe Rebic will probably be that number 9 guy up front now. I guess that would be their go-to guy who would have to replace the production. He proved last season that he can score goals, and he's got a knack for it. But I think that's the biggest question: is the $1 million question is who can replace Zlatan up front, and can Romagnoli provide that leadership that he showed, I would say, last season or even before he got hurt, where he was very dependable and he really showed that veteranness, that veteran side, or the team really relied on him, and he was their go-to guy. And I would say probably that was before Zlatan had arrived. He was always that dependable player. He was the captain of the team. But since Zlatan has slided in now, it seems as if Romagnoli is no longer that voice of the team, and it's gone to Zlatan. So a lot of ifs, a lot of questions that need to be solved or answered in the upcoming weeks. But I'll give them this: they really have responded well after their loss in the Europa League. They came back hard against Verona, being down 2-0. Against a Napoli side where they didn't have their manager in the game. They really put forth a very smart game. They allowed Napoli to attack, and they absorbed it, and they caught them on the counter attack. So we'll see what happens this week. Two key matches, but like I said, I just wonder how they'll do without Zlatan now.
Well, and that's something, Miguel. I mean, where do you think probably for at least the next 2 Serie A games, and then maybe the next 4 or 5 games overall, including Europa League, where do you think the scoring could come from with no Zlatan in those games?
I think honestly that the scoring is going to have to come from Rebic. We saw that last season. Rebic was able to grab goals from tightest angles, coming off the dribble. He was able to do that. And yes, Zlatan is irreplaceable. Once that guy hangs up his boots, or once he says, I've done my job at Milan, it's time to go somewhere else, there's no really real replacing him. Now, the key thing here for Milan is, with replacing Zlatan, we need to find someone who can actually do the job. We've spent the last decade trying to find a number 9 who has come into the team. We've paid a bunch of money for him, and then they don't deliver. Same thing with Piontek. Piontek came in, he had a banger of a first season, and then he kind of just dipped off. We need to find consistency, and I think that's where the patience is coming, because right now we can rely on Zlatan. And yes, being reliant on Zlatan isn't the best of situations, but you got to make the most of what you have. I don't think that they're going to sign a striker anytime soon. I think if they do sign a striker, it'll be in the next transfer window, the summer. It seems like they're more keen on fixing the right wing and getting another center back, because it looks like Musacchio and Duarte are on their way out of the door. We need kind of that backup center back in case Kier or Romagnoli get injured. But yeah, we need to find someone who can replace Zlatan and get it done. I don't know who we could. There's grumblings about Belotti because he might want to leave Torino, considering that is a ship that is burning and going underwater with Giampaolo at the helm. So maybe we can bring in Belotti, and he has the Serie A experience, so maybe it'll work out and he's at a bigger club. But as to signing a number 9 right now, I really don't know where Milan is going to go. So I think that they're just going to hold off for that.
And Ricky, when we talk about, dependence on a player like Milan being, obviously Zlatan does so much for them, it certainly reminds me of Inter's reliance on Lukaku this season. And Lukaku was great last year, but this season he has saved Conte's ass on numerous occasions. And I look no further than the game 2 days ago, because Inter is not beating Torino. They're not coming back from 2 goals down if Lukaku didn't put his Superman cape on. He 4 goal contributions in the 4 that they scored, beyond the hour mark to come back and win that game. And he, Lukaku has been superb all season long, outside of the brief time that he missed with injury. So just your take, Ricky, on who needs to step up to complement Lukaku, because in my opinion, and obviously people can say, oh, Lautaro needs to be more consistent, and that's true. But I see issues right now at wingback because so much of what Conte wants to do is dependent on those wingbacks marauding forward, being dynamic with their crossing and their goal contributions. And, Ashley Young at times has been really good for the last, 11 months that he's been with Inter. But, we also know that he's got limitations due to his age, and he's going to give up some cheap penalties like he did this past Sunday. And then on the other side of it, I think Ashraf Hakimi is going to be a superb player, and he's shown flashes of it. But he's struggling with his consistency, right? And I know that my guy Jerry was trying to talk me down to earth because I was doing cartwheels and somersaults when Hakimi, signed with Inter because I thought, it's over for Serie A because this guy is going to be, getting 2 assists and a goal every single game. But I think we've actually seen him needing to adjust to this league, and he's made some really poor mistakes at the back, and he's also missed a couple of free headers this year that really should have been easy goals for him. So he's not really been great. So to me, I think that more dynamism and consistency is needed at the wingback position. What do you think about all this on who needs to step up for games? Because Lukaku can't be Superman every single night.
Well, yeah, and we've seen what we look like without Lukaku when we tried Perisic up top, and that wasn't. I don't even want to say it wasn't bad. It was okay.
It wasn't good.
But yeah, the wing back position, especially the left side, is in more need because Ashley Young, again, he's going to have some dodgy games. Perisic just doesn't work there. I mean, us bringing him back from Bayern Munich off of winning the treble, I was thinking, he'll probably do really good for us, especially in a wing back position. But it doesn't look like he's good with going up and down. And Kolarov, he's only played, I think, half a game there, which I thought we'd be using him there. But even then, that just didn't seem to have worked. Who needs to step up? I feel as if it's the midfield, because I feel as if at certain points there's a hole, whether it's one person staying back in Gagliardini or one person moving up. There's just a hole there, which against Torino was pretty obvious how easy they were able to get through and past the midfield and go straight at our defense. So I'd say it's probably the midfield that needs to step up. Although I would say Conte needs to trust who's the other striker we have? Palamito?
Pinamonti.
Yeah, Pinamonti. I give him a game or so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because if, say, Lautaro gets a red card, Lukaku's injured, you're down to Sanchez and who?
Yeah, they would probably put Perisic at striker. I mean, like the way Conte approaches this, like anytime he has a hole to fill, he'll just play Perisic out of position, right? I need a left wing back. Here's Perisic. I need a second striker. Here's Perisic. Actually, that's a really good shout, Ricky, on the midfield. I like Arturo Vidal, but obviously he's not, the same player he was a couple of years ago. He can't, play 90 minutes 2 nights a week. It's just not in the cards for him anymore. If Stefano Sensi can stay healthy for more than 5 consecutive minutes, that would be a really nice boost. And the other one, there's a name I want to ask you about before we move on to a couple of other Serie A topics, but I think that we're, a little over a month away from Christian Eriksen's time at Inter being over. I think was pretty clear during this international break, some of the comments that he made, and then after the international break, Beppe Marotta made it very clear that, we're not going to keep players here who aren't happy. I think he's obviously talking about selling Eriksen or maybe trying a swap deal with him this coming January. So who do you blame for this not working out? Do you put more of the blame on Eriksen just not giving maybe enough effort or not fitting with this squad, or do you put more of the blame on Conte for not giving him really enough chances?
I feel it's a bit 50-50, as well as also whoever in management sanctioned the deal back in January.
Good point.
Because Conte wanted, Vidal, and we didn't pay him. And even then, I know there's Rod DePaul from Udinese we could have gone for.
Yeah.
I forgot. But even then, I could have seen the writing was on the wall, even with our Europa League campaign, because Christian Eriksen didn't even come off the bench in the final. And it's like, oh, wow. Against the technical Spanish side, you would need someone who can keep control of the ball, and then that happens, as well as other matches where Eriksson either hasn't shown up or either tries to do too much. So I see it as being 50-50, where Eriksson also himself has to look at himself and be, well, what can I do? Or maybe he could have probably talked to Sensi, maybe like, hey, I know you're like an attacking or attack-minded midfielder. What can you do? Or what can I do to improve my game, especially in the Serie A? Because it's very different from coming from the Premier League where you don't have much time on the ball. You're trying to get it off. But, yeah, I believe it's 50-50. Do you think that we're going to end up swapping him for Isco or somebody else?
I wouldn't mind that. And I've seen a lot of potential swaps mentioned. Another one is Leandro Paredes from PSG. I wouldn't.
Yes, that's right.
Wild about that one.
You don't want that. You don't want him.
No, I don't. I really don't. I
Shit.
would not be. I mean, listen. Sometimes Conte
Garbage.
turns shit players into good players, and good players into shit players. Like you never know with Conte. But yeah, no, I don't really want the Paredes deal to get made. I think the big thing with Eriksson, and Jerry has watched my evolution on the Eriksson topic, because for a long time I was a huge advocate for Eriksson, and that hey, he needs more time, he's going to adapt, he's going to be lethal. I've started to lose my patience with him, and I get it. I think you saying 50-50, it makes a lot of sense, because when you're given so few opportunities, I know it can be tough to adapt. But at the same time, when I do see Eriksson on the pitch, I don't see that guy making the most of it. He always has the demeanor of, like, in his mind, his team is always up 2-0. Like, there's no urgency. Like, you come into a tie game, or, you're on and you're down by a goal, where I look at a guy like Barella, who fights like a warrior, right? I mean, that guy, you can just see that he's fighting for the club. He's fighting for balls. He's going box to box, making tackles. He's trying to, and sometimes he gets too aggressive. Like, he can be a yellow card machine, Barella. But I mean, that guy is an absolute warrior for the shirt. And then Christian Eriksen is just kind of loafing around. And yeah, he's got a great touch and he's got creativity in the final third. But I also don't see the guy fighting at all. I mean, it's the kind of guy, it's great to have him out there if you're preserving a lead, because he plays that way all the time. But if you're trying to get back into a game, I can understand why, if Conte didn't already have a wig, why he would be pulling his hair out watching Christian Eriksen out there sometimes. So
I want to add something for you, Alex.
Sure.
Sorry, just with Leandro Paredes. A reason why you don't want him is he came from the Russian league, and no disrespect to the Russian league, but he played with Zenit St. Petersburg, and I thought that he really transitioned well when he was there. And maybe it's the competition that allowed him to be more of a free flow, creative midfielder. And when he came to PSG and was surrounded by talent, he has really struggled to really transition and become that holding midfielder, that player that they were hoping to become a good replacement to Verratti in the middle. And far too often, Tuchel has really not depended on him or has casted him out. And I know that he went through a stride last year where he was really good, but I just don't think this is a Conte player that should come into the 3-5-2 and would really help. And you're right, Ricky. I love your shout that you said. I think it's the management that bought Christian Eriksen, didn't even consult with Antonio Conte. That's what, 20 million they bought him for? 20 million, I think. Could have fucking bought something better with that money. Seriously. Well,
the thing is, though, if they can turn him around and sell him for 40 or for 50, you could say, financially, maybe it was a good investment. That's probably what they were thinking, because they got a deal because his contract was going to expire.
And you got Pinamonte riding the bench. Don't use Perisic. If you have a true number 9 on the bench, use Pinamonte. And this is the only flaw that Conte has in his game. If he can really get that stubbornness of a 95-year-old man and just throw it out, I think that he can be the best manager in the league. And the last thing is, this tiring, he makes 13 million a year, net 10 million, and shove that shit up your ass, okay? At the end of the day, ownership wanted to give him that money, okay? That's their problem. That is not his problem. He's going to do what he can, but he's not going to go on the pitch. and think, oh, I make 13 million, so I need to coach like 13 million. No, he's gonna do what he can. He's gonna go with the tactics. He's gonna manage how he's done for the last 30, 40 years. Whatever the ownership has given to him, that shouldn't throw on to Conte's, oh, he's worth 13 million, so start proving that you're 13 million. Okay, so he plays the best 3-5-2 this tomorrow, and he plays every player that everyone wants to hear. You want to no, seriously, he plays the starting 11, but they play shit. Is that his fault? You did what he asked him to, but still, oh, he makes 13 million. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. Like, get the fuck out of this garbage, man. Oh, well, he should be playing Christian Eriksen, and it's like maybe there's a reason why. And the last thing is we don't know what goes on in training. So the demeanor and the attitude of what they show in training, and a few Lazio fans tell me this, and I always say, oh, well, what about like when Vela and Brescia got sold? I'm like, what a waste of money. We bought a guy for $6 million, and he's sitting on the bench, and goes back to this. The manager doesn't give a shit if you spend $50 million for a player, especially if it's not a player that he never requested for. Like if it's a player that he's never requested for, he doesn't care what you bought. He'll let him rot until it's done. And that's the thing with Inzaghi and Conte here is they don't care that ownership bought a player. They will leave him on the bench if they think that regardless if there's two other options, he's not going to play him. That's how I see it. And we have Miguel quiet in the background. I'd love to hear the arch rival here's opinion because it's always good to hear on the other side. And that picture in the back is what made me laugh before, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, why did that make you laugh? Because it's Zlatan celebrating?
Fucking hate that asshole. Fuck's sake, man. I fucking hate that. I fucking hate it.
Hold on.
Why do you hate Zlatan?
Hate his attitude, man. Like the whole, I don't like him, man. He thinks he's all that with Sweden, and like, he thinks he runs the show, and it's Zlatan or nothing. And I'm gonna give a shout out to a good friend of ours, Michael Lisi, and he called it. So I saw a tweet that, oh, if Zlatan does 9 things right and 1 thing wrong, it's fine for him. But fuck off, bullshit, man. What is that crap? What about if the 1 thing that was wrong costed you a Scudetto? Would you then say 9 things are good and 1 thing's wrong? No, man.
But hold on. But if he's the guy who carried you 99% of the way to that Scudetto, and then he makes 1 mistake, did that really cost you a Scudetto? Like, I'm being serious here because I know how this goes. Because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I watched Dan Marino for 17 years not winning Super Bowls, and people look back at Dan Marino and say, "Oh, this guy, he was a choker. He could never win the big game." When what I saw and I wasn't even live for the full 17 years, for like the 14 years, because I was born the year that he got into the NFL. So for like the 13, 14 years that I watched Dan Marino, I saw this guy carry the Miami Dolphins on his back, okay? And, didn't have a running game, didn't have a defense for most of that time. And then, because they can't get past an AFC championship game, they can't get past the Bills, or he can't win a Super Bowl, he gets blamed for it. And I tie this back to Zlatan. Like, let me paint the scenario for you, okay? If Zlatan scores 30 goals this year, and he's on pace, I think, right now to probably even score more than that. But if Zlatan scores 30 goals, all right, he carries Milan to a point where in the final match day, if they get all 3 points, they win a Scudetto. And, oh, my God, the game is tied 1-1. And Zlatan has like a free header and it goes over the top and they don't win the game and they don't win the Scudetto because of that. No, I'm not going to blame Zlatan. Oh, Zlatan lost them the Scudetto. He should, or let's say he misses a penalty kick, right? Because he's done that a couple times, right? It comes down to a penalty kick, at the death. Zlatan can win the game and the Scudetto for Milan. He misses the penalty. I know people will give him crap for that naturally, but I'm going to say, hey, they're only in that position because of Zlatan. I'm not going to blame him for losing a Scudetto.
No, fuck that, man. No, fuck that, man. I don't care who you are, man. If you're allowed to make 9 good things, 8 good things, and you make 1 mistake, and everybody else makes a mistake, and it's the end of the world, it's not a team game, man. I'm Zlatan. I can fuck up. We can lose a game. you can't fuck up, but we lost the game, and you better go give me 25 push-ups. It's like, get out of here, man. No. I hate that mentality. I'm sorry, man. I don't care how good Zlatan is or how he's been. His mistakes can be vital, to their season.
Miguel, talk some sense into this man. He's crazy.
Fuck that, man.
Okay, so to me, I think that, yeah, I mean, Zlatan is a bit of a pushover because, like, when he makes mistakes, nobody can call him out on it. But when the other players make a mistake, like, he calls them out on it. But I also think that it's because Zlatan holds these players to a higher standard. I don't think it's because he looks down upon them, but it's more because he's holding them to the standards that he basically holds himself to. For instance, when Zlatan missed, 3 penalties, he came out to the media and he said, the next time Milan gets awarded a penalty, Frank Kessie is going to take it. He took the blame for that one. Of course, nobody's going to bark at him on the pitch after he misses a penalty because everybody's scared of him. But, I think he's won that position to be like, hey, fix this, hey, fix that, because he ultimately is the reason why the team is in the position that they are. Without him coming in, without him telling these players, hey, you need to believe in yourselves because you're not a shitty player. Like, you actually have potential. I think it's fair enough. Of course, it's a bit unfair that you get criticism all the time and Zlatan doesn't. But think of it this way. When Zlatan signed for Milan, a lot of people were like, oh, he's shit. He's 38. What is he going to do? He's going to score 5 goals off the bench. And then, Milan aren't going to do anything. And then Milan ended up almost clinching top 4. Like, so he gets criticism and he also gives criticism. I think, yes, it's a bit unfair. You see in the games, he's always barking at Hakan or whoever's passing him the ball, like, pass it here, don't pass it there. It's a bit unfair. But I think because he holds them to that high standard and he is just that type of player, is like, I want to fucking win. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes to win. So it just fits him. That's just his personality.
Oh, you said another name, Hakan. Fuck that guy too, man. Fuck him. Piece of shit. 6.5. Hold on. Because we got Miguel here. 6.5 million, 7 million a year this guy wants. Tell him to shove it up his ass.
Well, were you just the guy saying you don't care how much Conte is getting paid, and now all of a sudden you care how much Hakan's getting paid?
Because he's not worth it. That's why. No, hold on. You're right. But why? Hakan's is not worth it, man. At least you know what you're getting with Conte.
I don't think Conte is worth 12 mil. Not based on what I.
I don't think so either. But at least he's proven to be a winner. What has Hakan proven to be? Exactly. I hear crickets, man. That's all I need.
Fair enough.
I want to get to one more topic before we close out this episode. Because obviously Milan right now at the top of the table, and they may hang around there for a while. They're off to a really great start. I have a hard time believing that Sassuolo is going to finish the season top 2 or 3. I think they're going to come. Although I love their attack and I love that Zerbi. I think that's a Cinderella story that they're going to turn into a pumpkin at some point. Hopefully this weekend when Inter faces Sassuolo. I hope. But one team that I'm not going to say were written off early on, but got off to a slow start. They had their own injury and COVID problems. I got to say, guys, Juventus looks like they're turning a corner. Okay, like Juventus, I was really impressed with their performance against Cagliari. I watched some of their Champions League match today because I may or may not have had some money on it. And they didn't cover the spread, by the way, but they did come from behind to beat Ferencváros, and they got a 92nd minute game winner from Alvaro Morata. It was pretty damn dramatic, and I think some people, myself included, may have written off Juventus as I'm not going to say I never thought they weren't going to be a Scudetto contender, but for the first couple of weeks, I thought they're not even close to a favorite, but they look like they're turning a corner right now. And Ricky, I'll start with you. And I'm not sure what your preseason pick was for where Juve would finish or what you thought about them a couple weeks into the season, but do you think that after everyone was trying to dig that team's grave, that they might end up getting there, and I hate to say this, 10th straight Scudetto after all? How do you think Juventus might round into form?
Well, it depends on Ronaldo, really, whether he's there. He's literally the main driving force and motivator of that team, because Dybala hasn't stepped up really, and he's looked pretty woeful this season. But I was one of the people I didn't write Juventus off, but I was a bit skeptical, especially with Pirlo being the coach and Alvaro Morata coming back. I was like, I don't think they'll do good. I had them at, I think, second or third in my prediction. I had Inter in first, but
if it wasn't for VAR, Morata would have 30 goals already this year. I mean, how many goals has that dude had called off sides on Like, he would have had 30 goals if not for VAR.
Remember, he had I think 2 or 3 against Barca.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think, Miguel, about Juventus? And Ricky has been right that Dybala just doesn't really seem to fit there, at least not in Pirlo's formation. I am really high on Kulusevski. I think the jury is still out on Federico Chiesa, because I think he's a little rough around the edges, but he could be really good. What do you think, Miguel, about how Juventus may round into form and finish this year?
I think right now they're starting to realize that, things are different. They've been playing the same system for such a long time, and then they had Maurizio Sarri come in, and he changed things, and now he's gone, and now they have Pirlo. And again, it's just another reboot. But they have Morata, who, as you've said, if it wasn't for offside and VAR, he would have a shit ton of goals. And then Ronaldo has also evolved his game. He's not the Ronaldo of old that can cut down the wing and do all this dribbling and all that. He's kind of turning into a Zlatan. He's turning into a team player, trying to find where to make that pass or where to make that run, to be in the right position, to be clinical, because he has that talent to be clinical and finish and find the goal. We saw that today with his first goal in the Champions League game. So I think Juventus is starting to realize, hey, we're in a rebuild, but we still have the quality. I mean, Juventus still has great players. Yes, they're old, but they all have great quality. They have experience. And if they can just get themselves to trust the process, believe in the system that Pirlo wants them to play, they can definitely go for their 10th Scudetto, and I don't see anybody coming in their way. Of course, Milan is definitely in a great place right now, but it's so early in the season, and anything can happen. We've seen in the past couple of years in Serie A that the last match day really determines everything. Last year, we saw that Inter lost the Scudetto by 1 point. So anything can happen, honestly.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, Juventus is going to be one of the top 2 teams, no question about that. I think maybe I slightly favor them as Scudetto winners, and that was my preseason prediction. I wavered on that a bit after the first couple of match days. I'm kind of getting back into that. In no particular order, I think that in my top 4, we're probably going to end up seeing, and again, in no particular order, Juventus, Inter. I think Milan is going to finish top 4. I haven't really decided how high yet, but I think they're definitely finishing top 4. And then for me, it's kind of tough between, because Roma has been in great form. They've really been impressing me. I'm not going to completely count out, they weren't one of my preseason picks, but I'm not going to completely count out Jerry's Lazio, because they showed, I think, a ton of heart to grind out results while they had half their squad missing due to COVID-19, where I've seen Inter suffer to grind out results when they've had 90% of their squad for some of these weeks, and Lazio getting better results without half of their squad. So I'm not going to completely count them out. I am starting to turn a little bit on Atalanta. I don't see them finishing top 4 at this point. Napoli, I think, are still going to be alive. I know that they just suffered a really tough loss from their perspective to Milan. No Osimhen in that game. I still think they could have done better, but he's going to be really important for them. But, Jerry, where do you stand on Juventus? Because you did not pick Juventus preseason to win the Scudetto. You actually picked Inter to win the Scudetto. So I don't know if you still feel good about that pick, but how do you feel about Juventus now?
I had Juventus after when we revised our pick.
Oh, that's right. You revised it. See, I never revised mine. I stuck to my guns.
I know I'm a mush, so I changed up that pick. So I had Inter second, Juventus first instead, because I know that had I kept Inter, it would have been worse for you. But
thank you.
but you know what? Here's a quote from Pirlo today about Dybala and his performance. Dybala didn't do that well, but as I said, he was injured and had to take antibiotics for weeks. So it's natural he needs time to get back into shape. He does need to go beyond his limits in training to rediscover his form. So that quote to me is very scary for Juventus fans, because to me, you got a player who's not training hard and trying to get back to form and fitness level. So apparently I read reviews, comments that his performance was really poor today. He looked out of shape, just didn't provide anything along with Cristiano Ronaldo, and nowhere near the player that he was last season. Now, either he has to train much harder to get back to that level, or it's a mental weakness where something has really shook him up and is preventing him from excelling back to the game and the player that he once was prior to his injury and prior to like COVID and everything. I don't know if it's a player that wants to leave Juventus now, even though the whole contract dispute and wants, I don't know, 12 million he wants, or something crazy, ridiculous amount of money, where he's proving right now that he's not worth it.
Yeah.
Arthur was called out today. He didn't have a good game. He's trying to do too much in the midfield, showboating. I said that this guy was not the right player to bring to Juventus. I didn't like him at Barcelona. I guess now we know why he was like never being played, because of his attitude, the way he plays. He thinks he's a prima donna. And you got to give time to Pirlo, because there's a lot of new players. He is still understanding the ropes of being a manager. And they did one thing really good, and they brought in the manager of Udinese last year. I forgot who his name is, but he came over from Udinese to be his assistant.
The name escapes me, but yeah, that was a good move.
Maybe Miguel, you might know, or Ricky, but I can't remember his name. But he basically Tudor. That's it.
Tudor.
Igor Tudor came and basically has been done a really good job guiding him and giving him the ropes to be there. I think that was a really good signing, and something that people may have not recognized or mentioned. But you got Matthias de Ligt that's back today. That's really encouraging for their back line. And how important has Alvaro Morata been? Had this guy not been here, Juventus would probably be in a very different world right now.
Especially during all the time Ronaldo missed. I mean, he helped keep them afloat.
So Juventus is 9-time Scudetto winner. You don't count them out, regardless of who their manager is. They're the team to beat, regardless if Milan's sitting in first right now. You always have to look below the table and see where Juventus is. It's not where Milan is or where Inter is, and you want a good gap. What's the gap right now between Milan and Juventus? 3 points probably, I would say. 5 points. That's not enough. That's no cushion, man. All it takes is Milan to lose 2 games. Juve wins 2 games. They go back into first. You know what Juve does? They got their confidence back. They got their form back. All of a sudden, you're hearing no longer how good Milan was for 21 weeks. You're hearing
it is 3 points, by the way.
3 points?
Oh no, I'm sorry. 4 points.
4 points.
Yeah,
4 points is not enough, man.
Yeah, Milan
not enough.
Juve 16.
Not enough in a 38-game season, man. That's not enough. And you got Champions League, Europa League, Coppa Italia. Not enough. It's a long season, and Juventus, so many times they look like they've been down and out, and they figure it out. But I think the biggest question is, can this team click quick enough in order to get that stride and that consistency going, where they become that predominant team and what they were before? I think that's the biggest if. And if Pirlo can get this running smooth sailing quicker than you believe, I think that they'll be a very dangerous team to compete against. But there's just so many ifs in this team. Dybala, like I said before, Weston McKennie didn't look good today either. I heard playing out of position and his pass completion. I saw Carlo Garganese tweeting about how Weston McKennie didn't look good and Dybala looks unfit. But long season, like I said, so who knows?
Well, we'll close out this episode on that note, and I had a really good time, especially bringing on a couple of new faces. It's always nice to branch out the guest list. So first, Miguel, thank you so much, man. And if you want to plug anything as far as where people can find you on social media, if you have any projects you're putting out there, let people know where they can find everything.
All right, so my Twitter is at MiguelAJ29. So you can follow me there. My YouTube channel is Milano Miguel. I did a video about the Napoli versus Milan game. I will be doing a video about Milan versus Lille on Thursday for Europa League. Pretty much anything Serie A related and Europa League related for Milan, you'll see me doing that. I was writing articles for fansided.com, but Chicago Fire season ended very early, so I stopped on that. But that's pretty much where you can find me on social media.
And we'll have to next MLS season we'll have to cut it up a little bit because Jerry and I both cover MLS teams as well. Inter Miami for me and TFC. But I know Jerry's heartbroken about the TFC's loss tonight. So
not even, man.
Care. Never mind. I thought
for how much. You know what? I was so excited at the beginning of the year when I got the pass and going to the live game. But as the season progressed and doing the press conferences online, I just lost so much interest with the whole team. Like, first off, the MLS, I know how people want to say that there are good prospects in the league. I find it difficult to watch at times. And I don't like to bash on the MLS. I'm very happy that North America has a league and that we're able to develop players. I'd say Canada is much better at soccer because of the MLS and having the Canadian Premier League. I'll credit them to that. But the quality of football, just watching this TSC game was just so bad. And it's not just this game. It's been bad for TFC for the last 10 weeks. I just struggle to watch it, and it's the fact that they have so much talent on the team too, and they still can't put it together is even worse. So,
hey man, watching Chicago Fire isn't any better.
And don't even get me started on the disappointment, for Inter Miami who fell out, crashed out of the first round of the playoffs 3-0 against Nashville. So it's rough, man. The MLS struggle can be real. But, so we're going to have a few months off from that before the season starts up. And Ricky, it's always nice to have an Interista on. Let the people know. I watch a lot of your videos, my friend. Let everyone know where they can find you, Twitter, where they can find your YouTube channel, all that good stuff.
My Twitter is at @buzz_QS. And then my YouTube channel is just Ricky Buzz. I'm going to be covering Madrid Inter, or doing a match review of Madrid and Inter, so hopefully we end up winning. And
God, I hope so.
Birthday, so.
It's your birthday?
No, it'll on Thanksgiving. It will be.
Well, hey, that's close enough, man.
Oh,
we're recording this on Tuesday.
How about them Cowboys Thursday?
That's awesome. Yeah, happy early birthday, man. I know that we're a couple days premature, but
I got a gift for you then for your birthday.
Oh, what?
Lazio's the only undefeated team of all the Italian teams in Champions League. You can take that one to bed, baby.
You're the worst gift giver of all time. So, yeah, huge thanks to Ricky. Huge thanks to Miguel. Make sure you follow both of them and check out their work. Make sure you follow Jerry at jmancini8. Make sure you follow me at Alex Dono, and obviously follow the pod. Our Twitter handle is at CalcioConPod. And, of course, you can check the podcast out, the audio, every platform. I made sure we're on basically everything from Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon, TuneIn Radio. I can't even remember half the platforms we're on. We're everywhere you could Podbean, everywhere you could look for a podcast. And of course, the YouTube channel as well. Check us out and make sure you subscribe to that. Maybe if you're listening to this, you want to watch the video or vice versa. You're watching it, you want to listen to the pod, take it with you. Really good ways to do that. So, yeah, certainly best of luck to the Nerazzurri tomorrow against Real Madrid. And we'll Jerry and I will reconvene before the week is over for a Serie A match day preview before the weekend. So that'll do it for this episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.